spot on. He goes with the best alternative, lines up, triples down on that knight at the center of the board. You could slide your rook back and defend it, but that would have invited the black pawn forward, again creating big threats. We see the trades, but at the end of it, white's got that interest. You have that extra pawn. It's 5 versus 4 for Jan Nepomniachtchi.
And note how both kings are cornered right now. No king likes to be fully cornered with no air to breathe. And there are back rank checkmating ideas for both sides. That is why Jan Nepomniachtchi put his rook right next to the king, cuddling up there in the corner. And he knows he's done the hard work. He's won a pawn. The conversion stage, though, is not going to be easy. It's just queens and rooks. And if the queens come off, rook endgames have such drawish tendencies.
It's also a very healthy pawn to have won, because you've left black with two weaknesses. They aren't connected to each other. So Jan Nepomniachtchi also has a lot of targets for the long run in this game. Active queen, active rook. I'm expecting the other rook, which, like you said, was cuddled up with the king, might join the party on this F line and start targeting the F7 pawn next.
I was going to ask you guys about that in the endgame, where the black pawns on the F file and the H file, if everything else came off, feels like it's a lot harder to play with than white's connected pawns that are still on the 7th rank.
Definitely. Those isolated pawns, huge weaknesses long term. Queen trade, maybe that helps black in some scenarios, but white's still with an advantage. Rook trades help white. Look at this, they're fighting for the first rank now. So many heavy pieces on the first row. Given a question mark, but I think a very healthy, safe, practical move from Nepomniachtchi. It's all about the clock, though. Under 1 minute, the clock goes red. Artemiev, he's in a race against time, and he just hasn't left himself enough on the clock, it feels like.
And not enough on the board as well, right? That's a 1 pawn deficit, still continues. Yes, the queen moves back, it's eyeing the pawn in b2, but it also needs to stay connected to its own rook at the back rank, so a threat that can be avoided. That pawn could not have been picked up. Artemiev centralizes his queen. I like how Jan is playing on both sides of the board. He first won a pawn on the right flank, and now he's going for Artemiev's king. b5 at some point will come on to open the rook lines.
Yeah, he goes the other way with a pawn. Either way here, it does look fantastic for white. b5 push pawns. There's another pawn hanging on the edge of the board. The black h pawn could be picked up in the near future. Artemiev, he's just been too slow. He should know that Jan Nepomniachtchi, his biggest weapon is the clock.
What Artemiev is trying to create is a threat on that g2 spot next to the white king, trying to get the rook and the queen to combine for some attack. This is playing for tricks, but that's what he has to rely on. Queen trade offered, but Artemiev says only on my terms.
Okay, to take or not to take, that is the question. He keeps the queens on the board, the white rook threatening to infiltrate on the back rank. That would end in a checkmating attack if the white rook gets in, blocked. But it won't be holding the gate here for too long.
Get the b pawn up the board. When you're on the attack, you need open lines for your rook. Either b5, c6, these are the ideas that are running on Nepomniachtchi's radar right now.
That's the big idea here, isn't it? It's not the fact that the pawn is being given up on b5, it's the fact that if you take it with the a pawn, then the rook can sweep across to a1, and that creates another avenue of attack. Now, in this position, the black queen could technically take that pawn, but if you do that, the rook comes down to f8 instead. Either way, black's in a pickle. He's found it.
It's on the board. This is about to be Jan Nepomniachtchi's game, and he does pick it up. It's not a checkmate just yet because the rook could block it, but Jan Nepomniachtchi's seen it all the way through. Now he's threatening a threat on the back rank. Rook d8 coming in.
It's game over. The white rook is about to land on d8 and win the black queen. Artemiev only has 20 seconds. He needs a miracle here. He might just be hitting that resign button. Jan Nepomniachtchi has done the hard work. That last rook maneuver, so classy.
This is a classic Jan Nepomniachtchi's masterpiece that we're seeing being played out, and that's going to end in checkmate. Queen and queen checkmate coming on next. Jan Nepomniachtchi takes the win.
Jan Nepomniachtchi, 2.5 minutes, plays 10 seconds at the end of that blockbuster first game. Draws first blood here. We have checkmate on the board, and vintage Jan. Incredibly quick play, but an incredibly slow position. What a wonderful way to start off his account today.
Yeah, that was the perfect match strategy. You can tell he dreamed about this. He planned it the night before. He knew Artemiev is a bit too slow in the middle game. He waited, and when his moment came, he did strike. He won a pawn. He had the time advantage as well, and that just added up to too much for Artemiev to bear.
It was incredible.